Coming up on show 827, Tesla just crushed the so-called expert expectations for production and deliveries in quarter two. Stick around, I'll tell you more. We'll tell you why Tesla is shining during the pandemic, what it's doing to the stock price, what it means for how quickly you can get a car as well. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're listening in the world. Welcome to EV News Daily, the edition for what happened on Thursday, 2nd of July. My name is Martyn Lee, and I go through every EV story, so you don't have to. So Tesla just released their Q2 delivery and production report. So some background to this. It was released before the market opened this morning, and that meant a whole day of trading before the 4th of July holiday weekend and some closed markets. And boy, oh boy, was it good to get that data out before the market closed and waiting till Monday when maybe some of the excitement would have gone out of this, because Tesla stock went up about 8% last time I checked, and that's about $90 a share, and it was still going up. So what did they do? Well, as of quite recently, they started to batch, in these reports, they started to join together the S and the X and the 3 and the Y. Since they started having Y to talk about, they put them together. They don't split out the numbers, and that's understandable because you can get too granular sometimes. But there's what they produced and what they delivered. What they produced was 6,300 S's and X's. That's not many. I'll give you that. It's not many. But they did produce 76,000 3s and Ys, and we don't know the split from that, but we'll get to that. We can do some thinking around that. So total production was 82,272 vehicles. That's global. That's around the world. But how many did they deliver? Well, they delivered actually a lot more because they had some inventory, because Q1 was a barnstormer, and it's all to do with where vehicles are and whether they can get delivered or not. So deliveries, rather than making 6 and a bit thousand S's and X's, they delivered 10,500 S's and X's. And in terms of making 3s and Ys, they made 75,000 of them. They delivered 80,000 of them. So the total deliveries were 90,650 vehicles. Let's start to put all of this into context then. Oh, and by the way, I should say, I don't often do single subject podcasts. Doesn't happen very often. I like to talk about all EVs, but sometimes I need to take all the time to talk about one particular topic. So it'll only be about this today. And I don't do that lightly, and I've given it a lot of consideration because I'm not a Tesla fanboy, and I do call them out when I see stuff that I don't always think is great, and I like to praise them where I possibly can. They are the poster child of the EV revolution, so we do have to give them a little bit more airtime when stuff like this happens, because it's proof of EVs becoming so desirable. They can sell every car they make. And it's such a great storyline. It's going to be the only thing we talk about on the podcast today. So, let's, what order should we do it? Let's do production. So, we know that they made 6,500 S's and X's and 76,000 3s and Ys. How slow was the ramp up post-COVID? We don't know. But that might have been the thing that held them back. Estimates say they were producing 850 S's and X's a week in the quarter in Q2. Now that compares to 1,300 in Q1. These numbers are smaller, by the way, because when we get to talk about 3 and Y, it dwarfs them. But as a percentage, that's quite a big drop to go from 1,300 produced in Q1 every week down to 850. Not great, but still, must remember that the factory was closed for 7 weeks. Now, at the end of last year, so Q4 2019, Tesla was making under 8,000, it was 7,900, near as damn it, vehicles every week, and that was in Fremont. So ignore Shanghai. That equates to just over 400,000 vehicles a year. It's about 410,000 vehicles a year. Now, Shanghai, if you look at the production capabilities there, well, first of all, they're making around 4,000 Model 3s a week. That is, if you look at it over a year, and it's difficult because there's ramps and there's ups and downs and holidays and shutdowns and getting better at making the cars, it would work out at about 200,000 cars a year. Model 3s a year. So even if you don't take Model Y being built in China, and there's big new buildings going up there at the minute, by the way, it's about 600,000 potential cars a year. And we just, like 5 minutes ago, we're talking about 1 million Teslas on the road and hitting the anniversary, and congratulations. This year alone, there's the potential of making 600,000 cars without some other factors coming in. Well, Tesla has previously said that they want an installed capacity, so the potential of just shy of 800,000 by the end of this year. So that's where I talk about they're building out Model Y in Fremont. They're building out Model 3 and Y in Shanghai Giga. 3 is already doing pretty well. The buildings are going up for Y and all of the battery stuff in Shanghai as well. So that's where they want to be. By the end of the year, an installed capacity of 790,000. So that's the production covered off, and I just think it's amazing, given COVID, given that Fremont was closed for 7 weeks, how Shanghai definitely rescued these numbers, by the way, because the shutdown was shorter in China and the bounce back was quicker. But how quickly did the US site bounce back? Big question. We don't know the answer. With social distancing, maybe full staff weren't there. And also we know, I mean, anecdotal, I must admit, but some of the production quality issues are back for Tesla, and they nailed it. They were delivering some great quality cars, and we've seen some of the cars, YouTube videos being made of people who've taken delivery of cars that were made post-COVID when they were just desperately trying to ramp back up again and get cars out of the door as quick as possible. This is US, by the way. And I think they've gone back to some old ways, or they're not doing quality control temporarily, because there's some pretty shockingly bad cars out there at the moment that they will fix. They always fix it. They always make it right. You always book an appointment with the service centre and they sort it. But they shouldn't be leaving the factory in that condition, and it makes you wonder what that kind of post-COVID ramp-up has done. Let's talk about deliveries then. So once you've made the cars, how quickly can you get them out? They did deliver more, like I say, because of inventory, 90,650 vehicles. But as I mentioned at the top of the show, at the beginning, the consensus from the experts, these are people who spend their whole day being paid a lot of money to do this analysis for the stock market. The consensus was that they would deliver 72,000 vehicles. What on earth are these so-called financial people getting paid for? Because even a couple of weeks ago, I saw the websites like Inside EVs going, it's going to be a lot more than that. It might not be 100,000 as some people, or 95,000 some people were saying. Inside EVs say, well, it's not going to be that many, but it's way more than 72. Rumours of the mid-80s is where I saw, like, the knowledgeable EV people, not the market analysts and the stock market Wall Street people, but the kind of the EV fans. I saw mid-80s mentioned, and that seemed to be about right. But they even smashed that. And that is up about 2.5% quarter over quarter from Q1. And it's only down a little bit from Q2 2019, which was a big quarter. Year over year, despite the global pandemic, like I say, with shutdowns. And if you look at the first half of 2020, it's still a really positive result. 180,000 vehicles, plus or minus a bit, delivered in the first half of the year. That is up 13% from last year. Same time, first half of the year. Now, what does it mean then? Well, Tesla's production in the first half of the year is up, and they're delivering more cars, and Fremont was closed. So they're selling everything they make. So every EV that they can get off the production line, we know Tesla can sell. And that story is replicated over and over again with the other car makers who say that they're winding up and they're adding more production in, but there is still a supply constraint with the world of EVs. Eases any worries over Model Y. I saw that as soon as Model Y started to be delivered, the article started, there's a demand problem, nobody wants to buy a Model Y. It eases all of those possible, ridiculous suggestions. And Elon's been tweeting about profit as well. And how did they do that? So, well, they were offering free lifetime supercharging over the last couple of days for inventory S, X, Model 3, my mind goes. But anyway, offers on autopilot upgrades as well. And when you look at the potential of what Fremont lost with the closure, Some say it's 50,000. Some say 55,000 potential vehicles were missed from the 7 weeks of closure. Think how stunning this result would have been with another 55,000 vehicles added on top. Look, even if you ignore Shanghai for now, huge potential from the US. Guidance was 500,000 for the year globally. They're going to exceed that. At this, if we can get out of the COVID situation, they're going to beat 500,000. What does it mean for profit? Well, there's that whole thing of being possibly chosen for S&P 500 inclusion, and I don't go big on the financial side, as you know, because it doesn't interest me and it kind of bores me. It's all smoke and mirrors anyway, and, you know, bulls and bears and ups and downs, and 1 minute people are shorting. So it's the whole thing should just focus on the amazing products they make. And look, you know, go for the stocks and shares thing if if you want, but it's like a game to me. I don't fully understand it, so I stay away from it. I stay in my lane, and I know they make amazing, amazing cars. They also did a load of regulatory credit sales in Q1, and so maybe they won't do as many of those in Q2, but Elon's been tweeting about breaking even, possible profit as well. Just great news for the general EV story out there in the world, in the wider media. And how did they react? Well, CNN Business said Tesla delivered more than 90,000 cars last quarter, despite the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdowns, but they weren't hurt as much as other automakers, says CNN. Although they were down 5% from a year ago, others reported drops of 30% or more. The solid sales number was good news for hoping that Tesla would be able to maintain its path to profitability. Tesla is shining during the pandemic, is the headline in the New York Times. They say that deliveries fell modestly as sales in China and overseas markets nearly made up for the lost sales in the USA. After a steep drop in sales at the beginning of the year, the company was scrambling to raise cash last year, slashing costs and closing dealerships. Not really dealerships, but anyway, New York Times. It slowed spending on new models, and analysts had been bullish, soured on it. But they say it didn't help that Elon Musk was regularly sparring on Twitter with people, but now they've turned it around after reporting profits and sizable cash balances recently. They're back on form and now announcing a fantastic result, according to the New York Times. Market Watch says the Tesla stock is rocketing as they beat expectations. Because of Tesla's delivery, the stock rose 9% and trading as high as $1,228, putting it on track for a closing record. And prior to the delivery report, people were already upping their price targets on the stock. The Wall Street Journal is the only one that I could find, and actually they're always really down on Tesla. Reminds me of the Jay Leno video. Have you seen that? Of his Model Y review a week or so ago, where he says this whole section of the internet that wants to see Tesla fail, Jay doesn't get. Like, if you don't like something, just don't focus on it. Like, if you don't like eating sprouts, don't eat them. Don't obsess over other people eating them. And there's a chap called Charlie Grant, who I see occasionally on Twitter. I think he's like a writer or a blogger at the Wall Street Journal. He's just always hating on Tesla. And he says the headline is that down is the new up for the Tesla stock. Pretty negative article. And managing to spin it that way, but that's really the only negative thing I can find. Very, very positive day for the story for EVs in general, for the general market. Again, of course, this news reverberates around boardrooms around the world, and we want all of those existing automakers and the startups as well to move to EVs as quick as possible, and good luck everyone that's doing that. And hopefully this piece of news is just another sign that people really, really want to drive, electric cars. All right, I know I'm biased, but you're listening to an EV podcast. Well, thank you for listening today. If you enjoyed it, if you don't mind these single topic podcasts, let me know. Give me your feedback. I want to learn from what you want of this show. You can email me. My address is hello@evnewsdaily.com. Leave a comment on the YouTube show. I read all of them. Try and reply to as many as possible as well. I really appreciate your feedback. And let me know. I also really appreciate all of your support on Patreon. So if you ever feel like you learned something from these shows, that they're entertaining, maybe even educational at times, that is how this show is made. And it couldn't be made without the support of 235 people on Patreon, which is just a website you can use to support creators. They look after all the secure credit card stuff. For the price of like a posh coffee or two, $5 or $10 a month or more, you can support this show. And thank you to everyone that does. It allows me to spend my time doing this stuff. My premium partners are Phil Roberts. He runs Electric Future, EF.Energy. Hello to Brad Crosby. Hello to Avid Technology here in the UK. Premium partner Brightsmith Group for clean tech talent. Porsche of the Village in Cincinnati. Audi of Cincinnati East. Volvo Cars of Cincinnati East. And now, new nationalcarcharging.com and allohacharge.com. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow. And remember, there is no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.